I think you need to specialize in something. Like people are just, it's like throwing stuff at a wall and seeing what sticks. Like you need to become an expert that sounds different from all the other noise that people get. So what makes you different?
You have this mantra, which I read about, or an attitude. It was something that you said in a press publication, which was, why not us?
The most successful people find that one thing that they're really good at and figure out how to monetize it. These people just work really hard and they have figured out what they're really good at. I can't do this, or I can't do another state, or I can't. And I just kind of removed that from my head, said like, why not? Mm-hmm. What's stopping me? And the answer to that question is usually...
Welcome back, guys, to the LFG Energy Podcast. Today's guest is a really exciting one because I'm doing this shoot from New York. And I'm sitting down with Ravi Kantha of Serhant. He has the #1 ranked team here in New York, the #7 ranked team nationally, but the conversation's not just about real estate. It's about leadership. It's about building expertise. It's about a career pivot, believing in yourself, and some of the very simple things that high-functioning people like Ravi do that might surprise you because they're not flashy, they're just really basic and truly disciplined at the end of the day. And that's what separates him from his competition. He had fantastic energy, and I know you guys are gonna love this episode, so let's get into it. Ravi, thanks, man, for sitting down with me today.
Yeah,
Crazy
pleasure.
schedule, I know, man. This means a lot. I look up to and admire you quite a bit. So, look, I wanna start with your background in law as a prosecutor, and where you decided, or was there a moment that you said, enough of this, I need to make a pivot? Because that's not normal for people to just give up a career, especially when they've committed so much time with schooling and everything towards.
Yeah, there was a moment. I worked a 16-hour Sunday, and I was just exhausted. And that was when I was working in white-collar criminal defense. I was working on a case where some of the behavior by the prosecutors and the federal agents wasn't so ethical. And it was sort of getting to me because I'd always wanted to be like a federal prosecutor. I was a state prosecutor, I wanted to be a federal prosecutor. It was like, I thought that was like the path, and really thought that work was so admirable. But no, I hit a point where I said, all right, like I can't take this anymore. Like I'm exhausted. I have $250,000 student loans. My wife was in law school, so when she graduated, we were gonna have about $320,000 of loans, most of which was my responsibility. And I just didn't feel, I was making good money, but like for a lawyer, but like I just wasn't making a dent in the student loan stuff. So I hit a point where I just like, what am I gonna do? I can't take this anymore, I hate this. I don't wanna do other types of law because I found everything else like terribly boring. So it ended up sort of, we had been watching $1 Million Listing. And I had multiple times sort of pointed at the screen and been like, I could do that. This is ridiculous. Like look, I said, I know it's like most of it's fake, but these guys are running around making money. Like they are making real money. Look it up. You could see it online.
Why not me?
So then I thought like, everyone always tells me I should be in sales. Maybe I should just talk to someone. And I had a friend of a friend who was in commercial real estate. And I had met him when I was bartending years before. This guy, Joe Kosum from Marcus & Millichap, actually. He crushes it today. He's still doing it, still going hard. Probably the top multifamily sales guy in the city still. Yeah, he was really gracious with his time. It was supposed to be like a 15-minute informational meeting. Turned into an hour and a half. He offered me a job. I almost took it. Ended up not doing that, but everything he told me about his day-to-day just sounded like a good fit. It sounded like something I would enjoy doing. Sounded like something that would be hard work, but rewarding and sort of like allow me to run around a little bit. I hated sitting at a desk all day, staring at a computer. Like I just didn't like it. So I wanted to get out and meet people. That's what got the wheels turning. So I started doing research, talking to another family friend who was a real estate agent. I initially was sort of focusing on like commercial real estate, thinking that's what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
But I met people at the first brokerage I worked at, specialized in selling townhouses. Felt like it was good to have a niche and to learn from people who'd been doing it for a while. So I did that, and that's where it kind of all started.
Yeah,
so.
And would you say that is kind of, for people in any career, but real estate specifically, not having a niche or going into it at least with that before you try and do too much too soon?
I think you need to specialize in something. Like people are just, it's like throwing stuff at a wall and seeing what sticks. Like you need to become an expert that sounds different from all the other noise that people get.
Yeah.
Right? Like everyone's like, oh, like I got a call from a real estate broker. Everyone knows a real estate broker. So what makes you different?
Right.
Like it's got to be depth of knowledge. It's got to be understanding of the details and not just the process, but what do you know about these deals or about the value of these recent sales? Like why did they happen? How did they happen? What's the story behind them? Like is there something special about like, oh, there was a neighbor and they bought the property because they want to combine them or something? Knowing why they're their outlier numbers or what's driving the market.
Yeah.
Like that's really important stuff. And most people just don't take the time to build that knowledge base.
So there are frames of references that everybody has, and that ultimately, if that carries forth into their career, is going to be what makes them a little bit different. You, in your legal background, were with people during some of the worst moments of their life. And then now you're in a career in a space where, although it's stressful, and it's a grind, these are some of the best moments or biggest breakthroughs, at least of what's going to result financially. How has that contrast played forward into your career?
Well, I get to be around more positivity,
Yeah.
right? Like I get to be around positivity. And that's such a big change. Being a lawyer, especially in criminal defense or prosecution, everything is sort of negative energy, right? Because it's like kind of like even when you win, like someone's going to jail if you're a prosecutor. And then if you win as a defense attorney, there is some conflict there, right? Like if somebody's guilty and it's a tough thing. It's a necessary thing in our system, but at the same time, it wasn't really the right fit for me. And I didn't like being around negative energy all the time. And I guess probably why I ended up at Sirhan, because Ryan's running around with like positive beams flowing out of his head. But I think it's really about trying to surround yourself with people that are like-minded, people that have the same kind of ambition. And also with client, like what I really like about what we do is I get to be around and work with some of the most successful people in the world, right? Like I'm representing, whether it's like ultra high net worth families, people who are really successful in hedge fund, private equity, banking, tech, startup, entertainment, actors, actresses, musicians, whatever, like people who are buying some of the most expensive real estate in the world or some of the most successful people in the world. And they're just interesting to learn from, to talk to, and to see, how did you get where you are? Right? Like, what is it that makes people different? And just learning how people have navigated like their own path to success. That's always been something I really, really enjoy about what we do. And we get to work with those people in a pretty positive environment.
When you said energy, there's a lot of fake energy out there, when it comes to your industry, my industry, any industry, but real estate especially, because it's glamorized, sensationalized through television shows like $1 Million Listing.
For sure.
And there's a lot of fakeness out there. You and your team, which we'll get into here, like the thing that oozes out from watching your content and seeing your online presence is pure substance. Like there's gravitas in everything that you guys do. And it's not always about the show, it's about the results, meaning the showmanship of it. Talk to me about how prevalent that is and where you take issue with it, and obviously how it's prided you in building your team.
I just see it as noise. Anything anyone else is doing is noise, and it's also like it applies to everything. It's not just brokerage. There's developers, investors, lenders, mortgage people, whatever. You're going to run into people in every part of our industry where it's a lot of talk, and maybe there is some success, but not at the level that people are portraying. And I learned a long time ago, don't focus on that. Focus on yourself. Look inward, execute, do what you have to do. Like you have a to-do list, you have team members that are supposed to do certain, like as you grow, like you learn division of labor, delegation, like just kind of understanding every day, what are the most important things for me to do today, right? As long as I can finish those things, today's not a failure, right? On to the next thing. And if you remain task-oriented and goal-oriented and you don't worry about what other people are doing, you tend to come out of that the other side having accomplished at least or coming close to like these goals that we set. Because I set basically unattainable goals. Everything it's always a moving goalpost for me. And that's just what keeps me going. And maybe that's unhealthy, but
no,
but it
it's
works
obviously
for me.
Served you well.
Yeah.
So as you've built your team, something that I've been, number 1 team in New York, number 7 team nationally. Those numbers are still relevant here this year.
Yeah.
I know from last year, which is an incredible accomplishment. You're not done by any means. I know you, like as you said, you're always moving the goalpost. You have this mantra, which I read about, or an attitude. It was something that you said in a press publication, which was, why not us? As you were building the team, like why shouldn't it be us? Why shouldn't we be the ones who break through? Why shouldn't we be number 1?
Yeah.
I admire that because I think a lot of times people just think that doing the work will somehow yield the results, but there's a mentality or a certain mental edge that has to be involved in that work, right?
Yeah.
And that's how you guys have built this team.
I think that's right. Why not us? I mean, I think that comes from years of, like I mentioned, meeting some very successful people.
Yeah.
I have yet to be in a room with someone where I walked out and said, unbelievable, that person is so much better at everything than everyone I've ever met, right? Everybody's got a thing. And most people who are really successful are good at one or two things. Right, in a macro way, right? They may have like a few skill sets, but point is like somebody's really successful, like founder of a hedge fund, probably a really good trader. Like whatever that is, they're very good at it. They've figured it out, whether it's depth of information and research, or under like if it's on the quant side, sort of understanding the mathematical and the tech better than anyone, faster than anyone. Whatever that thing is, they've mastered it. Doesn't mean they're good at everything though. And the most successful people find that one thing that they're really good at and figure out how to monetize it. And sometimes it happens by accident, but that's what I learned is like, okay, there's no special sauce here. These people just work really hard and they have figured out what they're really good at. And they combine those two things and figured out how to make a lot of money doing it. So I would meet, top real estate brokers when I was in my second, third, fourth year doing this and think that I'm going to come out of the showing or the meeting thinking oh my God, that person's just so incredible. And don't get me wrong, I was impressed. They're good at what they do. Really, really good in some cases. But I never walked away thinking, I couldn't do that. I can't do that. Never felt that way. So as I grew in my career and our team kept growing, that sort of just stuck in my head. So I focus on townhouses, for example. Can't really do new development, or I can't do this, or I can't do, another state, or I can't. And I just kind of removed that from my head, said why not? What's stopping me? And the answer to that question is usually me, right? It's yourself.
Right.
So that's how I look at everything now is if it's everything is possible when it comes to professional success. You can make it happen if you work hard enough to do it long enough. Now it's more a question of what is the most, what makes sense? What should I pursue? What should I pass on? Right? Because now opportunities come and you say that's not a good fit for us or for our brand. Or something else comes along and maybe it's 2 years earlier or 6 months earlier than you thought it was going to come.
Yeah.
If I get a call, where I got my Florida license and, we have eyes on expansion.
Nice.
And random phone call comes in and it's oh, do you want to pitch, friend of a friend, oh, you want to pitch this project in Miami or in Florida Keys or whatever? And you're sure, let's go for it. And now I just have to find the right Florida partner, people. I got to build that infrastructure and find those people that I need to actually provide the same service that we're normally used to giving.
Yeah.
But 5 years ago, I would have said no way, no chance. Today, it's I've got the infrastructure, I've got the people. Yeah, we can figure it out. Let's do this. And if at some point we don't feel comfortable, we'll pull back. But I've applied that attitude to every opportunity that comes in, and that's the why not us. It's why not?
Yeah.
Why can't we sell $50 million, $100 million pieces of real estate? Why can't we figure out how to navigate and serve the interest of every ultra high net worth or high net worth person we work with, wherever they need it? It's just a question of where it makes sense to put that energy and that time and to make sure we keep that level of service where it should.
Amazing. One thing I've noticed, you touched on it there briefly and it made me think of this. Adaptability quotient is something that I've found most all really successful people have a high degree of, the ability to adapt. In the team's build out, or you said the goalposts are constantly moving, so you probably go through this weekly. How important has it been for you to kind of recognize and develop just a better system of recognizing, we need to pivot. Doesn't mean we need to throw everything out and reverse course, but how much pivoting actually comes into your day and your business strategy, and how do you continue moving forward without getting frustrated sometimes?
Well, you definitely get frustrated. I think you need to follow your gut more than anything, because I have found that every time I've ignored my gut feeling, I've made the wrong decision. And I can pinpoint every one of those major things along the way. And pinpointing those, sort of where I need to make a decision to either push forward or cut ties, end it, done. Like a business relationship that's not working out for some reason, or if it's time to double down and do more. We have really good people on our team. Gian she started with me as an assistant 11 years ago. Now she's running the operation. She's the executive director for the team, and she's a business partner, right? And she does all the things that I don't do well, right? Which makes it a great partnership.
Yeah,
but I
good
think
recognition.
Yeah, I don't hire anyone anymore. I'm 0 for the century on hiring. Everyone I hire is a bad fit. So Gian does all the hiring.
That's me.
You can hear my team laughing in the background because they know this is true.
Me too.
Yeah, I meet with people as a formality, and really it's her decision. And she's a keen intuition on that. So I think you need to, that's one example of, I let go of that. And years ago, I would have never considered letting go. I was a very detail-oriented person, still am, but I used to every pitch book was reading every single sentence for punctuation, for everything, and I would do that. Now I don't have the time to do that, so I need to have team members who understand the level that we are supposed to be at, that there can't be a typo, and if there is, we look like idiots. Fix it. That's what makes you different from every other real estate broker, is that's one of 1,000 things, right? The market knowledge, the attention to detail, the fact that there are no mistakes when you give something to someone. That is really, really important. And so understanding how to build out a framework, which creates those systems to maintain that quality as you grow. That's really, really important because your clients, when you start, you want to keep them long term. You have to maintain that service, the same service when they were like the only client.
Okay.
It's hard to do when you get to 50, 100, 150 clients more, right? Like you got to figure out how to do that or you just won't grow.
Right. And people see the numbers, they see all this success, and someone would look at you and say, everything this guy touches must turn to gold. Like, you know, he's like in the Billie Jean video with Michael Jackson, like the floor just lights up as you're walking. That would be nice.
Yeah.
But what people don't see, and what I want to ask you about, is like the struggles where things get off the rails, where things get fucked.
Yeah.
You know, just for lack of a better way of saying it. I say that in my business, 80% of my day is that way. The 20% is what I have to focus on. But there's rejection, lost deals, all kinds of stress, things I can't control. How do you deal with that? And could you share with us maybe something right now that's going on with your expansion or whatever, where it's not necessarily going according to plan, and how you're navigating through that?
Look, the toughest thing in expansion is like you have to dedicate time to something new while maintaining the level of attention and service to something that you already are doing, which is really hard. I tell people I basically try to jam 27 hours into every day, right? It's like every day we're running out of time. And then on top of that, you know, we have a family, like I have my wife, my kids. I'm not someone who's gonna ignore that, right? So that's a huge part of life. It's the most important part of life. You wanna, like, finding balance, it's impossible. But what you can do is you can compartmentalize, you know, my wife, Katie's really big on this in terms of like your phone is in another room when you're with the kids. So even if it's a short period of time, you're focused on that. She got me to do that, which was very hard for me to do, to let go of the phone, because you know, it's kind of like an extra organ for a broker.
Yeah, it is.
But I think it's all about just kind of moving through the pain, which is the rejection, which is the, I didn't get that listing. Or like, I've been doing this for how many, 11 years, and you know, our numbers are great, we're growing, and that's great. But like 3 weeks ago, I had an 0 for 4, 0 for 5 stretch on pitches. That hasn't happened to me in years. Like my batting average is a lot better than that, and I just went like 0 for the century, just swing and a miss, swing and a miss, swing and a miss. And you just say like, how do you respond to something like that? I think people just insert the word perseverance and just like, power through. It's not really like, you have to figure out, what am I gonna do to get past this awful momentary feeling?
Yeah.
You can shut down, or what I usually do is like take out my phone book, like who do I need to call? What are the next things? Like what person can I call? What referral source have I not called in a little while? Set up a lunch, set up a breakfast, set up a, you know, drinks, dinner, whatever, and just get back to work and just keep going for new opportunities. Because the reality of our business and any sales business, it's all statistics, right? Like you create more opportunity, you're gonna get more wins.
Yeah.
And the losses are always gonna outnumber the wins, because if you count the number of times you do outreach and get no response, you're losing a lot.
Yeah.
Like your job is to lose frequently and stay there for the wins.
Yeah.
Get there for the wins and just keep going. And I just have found, like, don't dwell on the losses. Don't take them personally. You know, this is just business. People are gonna fuck you over. People are gonna do awful things with it's money, but ultimately it's just money, right? Like we'll figure it out. Like we'll get through it. So I think as long as we keep that perspective and just keep going through the hard stuff, you get to the better stuff. And our business it's not easy, but it's very simple. Like it's rinse and
agree with you
repeat.
more.
The hard parts of the business are figuring out like the long-term value add. What can we do differently with technology, with AI, all that stuff. That's harder, that's more complex to figure out, like how to invest your money and time in that respect. But the basic blocking and tackling of our business is really simple.
Yeah.
Like be there, be present, make the call, show up for the meeting, you know the information, the data that you need to know to give good advice.
Yeah.
And you know, once you have that, people will trust you.
Yeah.
And if you don't do that, they're not going to trust you, so they're not going to hire you. So in that respect, really simple. What's hard is the execution and continuously doing that.
Okay. I also picked up from time to time that high performers, people that produce really well, they have a little bit of whether it's a mantra or a certain thing that they'll do to get out of a funk. And I noticed you were saying like you had a big 0 for week.
Yeah.
So you thought, okay, what can I do to get back to work? Just keep the wheels in motion. And that's work related. Is there anything you do to sometimes get yourself out of a funk, or when you just kind of hit a wall that has nothing to do with business? That's just something that you as an entrepreneur are hardwired to do, or it's just your go-to?
Hang out with my kids.
Okay.
They just want to have fun.
Yeah.
Right? They're kids. They're 7 and 5, boy and a girl. Like, right? So Cole and Belle. If I just spend some time immersed with that, the other stuff goes away. You know, usually that feeling.
Yeah.
So that's the personal solution to it. Glass of wine doesn't hurt, but the kids really, like, that's the best distraction. And talking to my wife, Katie, she's like the consigliere, like, right? She's helped me make every major decision I've ever made professionally. So she's really good at talking through the issues and finding the time to do that. Super important. It's hard to do, but we definitely find that time. And that's it. Like, there's no secrets, there's no magic. It's just relying on things that are consistently there and reliable and dependable, and we're not going to let you down. And it's hard to find, but family is one of those things. And so that personal, and the professional response is just line up more at bats, line up more opportunities, just keep going.
Yeah.
Because I know in my head, I just keep that rhythm in my head saying, like, well, if there's more opportunity, if you go create more opportunities, you're going to create some wins just by doing that.
That's what you have to do, yeah. For a lot of our audience are entrepreneurs, people that came from similar to you, like they had invested a lot of time into what they thought was going to be their career, and then just said enough. And it was like either a full 180, maybe it was a slight pivot. For someone listening that feels really stuck, the way you did when you had that moment, as you mentioned, and said it was the 16-hour day you said that you worked? Yeah, like
it's brutal.
What advice or guidance would you give someone that's maybe feeling stuck and they're like, but I put so much time into this. I went to law school, I've gone to medical school, right? Like my wife says that, she's a doctor, very Indian of her. But she always says like, it's not what she wanted to do. And I tell her like, you could do something else. She's like, I put so much into this, right? What do you say to that? Because that was you.
I say you get one life.
Yeah.
That's it. Like, it's great. Like, you did all this, but if it doesn't make you happy or if it's not fulfilling, go do something else.
Yeah.
And I recognize fully there's a certain personality that it takes to do that. And it's not necessarily just a quality. It's just like how people think and approach life. Everybody's different. And some people just aren't going to do that ever. And that's fine. But if you really feel that way, I think reminding yourself that you're not stuck, like there is a way out always. And if you approach life that way, you tend to find that. Right? And if you think you don't have a way out, it's going to be harder to find, like much harder, and you probably won't.
Yeah.
So I think mentality is a big thing. I'm not a big, Tony Robbins, rah-rah, I just believe, keep it simple, stay focused, stay disciplined, and ignore all the noise around you.
Yeah.
And if you do that, you tend, like I said, you tend to come out the other side a lot better than when you entered.
Was there a moment in the career and everything that you've built up that was either like this, either a dark moment where you're like, I don't know how I'm going to get past this, I might be done, maybe I've hit the wall here, or it was a bit of advice or an encounter or something that happened that you look back to and say, that was a moment, like that's circled on the time lapse?
The first 6 months doing this was really, really hard. I had just abandoned a career that I had put a lot of time, effort, and money into.
Yeah.
So that was hard. People questioning my decision. People thought I was crazy. Most people I knew thought it was an insane decision to make. My wife was supportive. We were engaged. We were getting married that year. My in-laws were really supportive and helpful. I think that was a really, really tough time. I was waking up I still wake up early, 4:30 in the morning, but I was waking up and routine was I was living with my in-laws for a while, and routine was get up, go for a 2-mile run, because all the time I had. Then I would get on a bus, because we were living in Rockaway Beach, so it was like get on a bus to a subway, take the subway to Midtown, get out, go to the office. I was usually at the office by 7:30. And from 7:30 to 9, I would just work on my own pipeline, building out a database, figuring out who I'm going to call and who are the cold calls for the day, what mail do I need to follow up with, all that kind of stuff. Then from 9 to 5, worked on someone else's listings, my former business partner, who I came into the business with, worked on that person's business, his business, and then from 5 to 7, cold calling and farming, again, and then from 7 to, about 7 o'clock, I stopped cold calling because people get pissed off.
Yeah.
And then I would take the subway to the bus, home, eat, shower, and work on the database until I passed out, usually around midnight, and that was just rinse and repeat. That was 5 days a week, and then the weekends I'd work on the database, make some calls on Saturdays, and work open houses and showings on Sundays. That was it for 18 months or so. It was basically that. So the first 6 months I had no business though, and that was tough.
Yeah.
You're just taking rejection constantly without any success to go with it.
Yeah.
And that's the hardest part of the business, is having that confidence and being able to just kind of get through those moments.
Turn the page.
That's really, really hard. But got through it, with support of, people that are, again, family and people just sort of reinforcing that confidence that I had in myself that I could do it.
Yeah.
And I realized like I was never going to get there unless I really believed it and convinced myself that I could do it. So I had fake it till you make it, like in an acronym, so nobody, because it's really cheesy. I had it written out as an acronym on a business card right next to my phone, which was a desk phone. And I had that there. It's just a reminder. It's like you gotta sound confident.
Yeah.
You got to have that confidence. And that's, that was a big part of those early days. And accumulating market knowledge too. Like that was really hard then because I just didn't have the experience. So it was like, go to every open house.
Yeah.
Like go preview
learning
everything. Get inside everything because you need that base of knowledge to really be effective at what we do.
So that's good advice for anyone, that's maybe starting their career, like how you made the pivot and dealing with the rejection, taking the losses up front and getting your shins kicked in, but just being quick about turning the page and moving forward. Given all that's going on in our industry now, you talked about like how business is simple, which I couldn't agree more with. I say it all the time from stage. Business is so simple. It's what are you good at? Where's the problem in the market? Connect the dots. That's it. Everything else is the extra where we complicate it. Would you advise anyone now, given where real estate is going, with all of its disruption and enhancement through technology and AI, to get in this business now? And if so, like join a team, go solo?
Yeah, I mean, I think getting into the business, joining a team and learning the business by being able to work on other people's listings while you build your own pipeline and your own network, I think that's really important.
Yeah.
Of course, I would say get in the business. I love this business. I think it's a great business. I think there's only room to grow. And the next 10 to 15 years, that's probably going to be great opportunity for people. Like the number of agents is going to shrink.
Yep.
The number of good agents and their market share will expand.
Yep.
We're attracting more and more quality people. Every year I see more qualified people. Like I get 5 to 7 job applications a week at this point, and the qualifications just keep getting better and better and better. And it's not because we're so great. I think it's a function of like the number of people who realize that a career in this business can actually be very lucrative. It can be rewarding, and the personal freedom you can get from it is really rare.
Yeah.
So I think that all of those things make this a really great opportunity. And if you learn how to leverage technology, if you learn, the most important thing for the next 10 years, data, right? Everybody knows it. Like the biggest companies in the world are all focused on it for a reason.
Right.
So we're very focused on it with AI and data aggregation and organization and figuring out how to get the most out of it, utilizing all that new tech and AI. We're just gonna figure out like how can we use this to be more efficient in our business, but also to better serve our clients. Like what can we get out of this information that we have access to, that we now organize, if we have a super powered, computer that thinks behind us, helping us get faster answers out of it, right?
Okay.
So what does that mean for our business is that I think over time we'll continue to be more effective advisors who can decipher large amounts of information faster.
Yeah.
Right? So that's, if I can do, like I always give people this example with like how the business is growing. When I started, I cataloged a neighborhood, Brooklyn Heights, piece by piece, address by address, inserted, like downloaded list, cleaned them up myself on Excel, and put in the phone numbers, put in the email addresses, just did it all myself. And that was painstaking. It took me 18 months to complete that database. I worked it as I went, but it took about 18 months to put it together, and it was only 974 properties, I want to say.
Yeah.
So if AI allows me to put something like that together and do it in a month, effectively, and then if it can help me understand that information, let's say it's at 70, 80% capacity of what it takes when you actually do it by hand, then it starts to make a lot of sense from a scale perspective and being able to teach people how to do things the way we learned how to do them. Like I think there's nothing that can replace that intense amount of studying to like really get that knowledge. But if you want to serve a larger client base, or if you want to work on larger projects, things like that, being able to decipher that information fast is really helpful to everybody. So I think there's so much opportunity in the future of this business, and I think it's a really exciting time for real estate. People are all depressed about fees and antitrust and
consolidation.
Who cares? Ultimately, people hire the agent that they trust.
Yeah.
So if you get in front of people and you demonstrate that you're better at this than your competition, most people are going to hire you. And that's what I focus on. It's like, stop worrying about all this other stuff. It's not that important.
And shelter's not really going out of style anytime soon, so people always need it. The last question I'll ask you, Ravi, and there's no right or wrong answer, and it's a really quick one. You embody a lot of this. And if you've been listening to this or watching it, like Ravi's got very infectious energy. You can clearly tell he does not fuck around. So the LFG Energy Podcast, it stands for exactly what you think it stands for. It's let's fucking go. I ask every guest this as we close. What does LFG Energy mean to you? No right or wrong answer.
It just means never turn off.
Yeah.
That's it. Like I tell people, my joke with team members when we hire them is like, I got 2 speeds, awake and not. That's it, 100 miles an hour and sleeping. I thrive when we're moving. Like motion gets me going, and like that's really what I like to do, and I'm competitive. I'm in this for the competition.
Yeah.
I want to be the best at what I do, and I love real estate, and being the best at it is a really important thing for me because I don't really see what else are we doing.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're just going through the motions. That's how I look at it. Not everyone will. Everyone has different reasons for their for their success and their motivation. For me, it's just I want to be the best at everything we do.
Well, it spills out because I was talking to one of your team members beforehand, and we're all saying how excited they are to work with you and that kind of energy. So it's great,
nice.
man. We'll be admiring you and watching your success from the other coast in San Francisco.
I appreciate
this very much, brother.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ravi.
Very much.
All right, man. Thanks for listening, guys.